Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, Mac Pack. It's great to be back with you for another exciting episode of On the Move. This is the show where we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about politics, of course, current events, talk about philosophy. I am a libertarian in philosophy, not necessarily affiliated with the party, but I have conservative leanings, and I talk about this philosophy through that lens. And I when I talk about current events and things like that, I'm giving you this kind of stuff through that lens. So my biases are all out there. I make no attempts to pretend that I am completely unbiased, because no one is. But I make it all open so you can decide for yourself what you believe. And anyway, today I'm really excited about today's show. I have a good friend of mine. His name is Leo Stratton. He's going to be joining us on the show today. Today's show is titled Radicalism on the Rise. This is episode 162 of On the Move with Mac Worley. I, of course, am your host, Mac Worley III. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of different things. Let me talk first about our featured topics here. We're going to talk about how radicalism on both sides is increasing. I want to talk about how the Congressional baseball game, the practice where there was a shooting, happened, and I want to give my thoughts and analysis on this. I also want to talk about why gun control makes us less safe. We have all that and more coming up. And before we actually get into the meat of everything, I've just come across some breaking news. There's 7 reported missing after a U.S. Navy ship had a collision off the coast of Japan. So first and foremost, my thoughts go out to those crew members. I hope everything happens or everything works out with this situation. If you pray, maybe you consider throwing some prayers out towards these individuals. Let me read you the story here. This is on usnews.com. This is a story by the Associated Press. 7 crew members are reportedly missing and 1 injured after U.S. Navy destroyer collided early Saturday morning with the merchant ship off the coast of Japan. The country's Coast Guard reported. Footage from the Japanese TV network NHK showed heavy damage to the mid-right side of the Navy ship and a person in a stretcher being lifted to a helicopter. The U.S. 7th Fleet said on its Facebook page that it's working with the Japanese Coast Guard to conduct a medical evacuation for a sailor. The fleet said the number of injuries is still being determined. Obviously this is big news. This is the USS Fitzgerald. It was making its way through the Pacific Ocean. So obviously, we're going to be following this story in, today's show, just so you know, it's only an hour long. So we probably won't get very many updates on this, but if we hear anything breaking on this, we'll let you guys know. This just seems like it's a very busy news week. If you all have been following the Congressional baseball game shooting, I guess it was a practice where the Republicans were practicing. Some maniac came up and just started shooting at these congressmen. We're talking about 30 or so members of the GOP out practicing for a fundraising event that they do every year. And this maniac just starts unloading on these people. And we're going to get into some of the analysis on this shooting and talk about, what could have happened and why things ended better than it possibly could have. And I'll let you guys know everything that's happening on this. We're going to actually cut to a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to be on the line with Leo Stratton. We're going to break down all this. I want to talk about his actual exposure to radicalism, being that he's a citizen journalist in Portland, no less. And if you're not familiar, Portland is extremely radical. The left down there is extremely radical as well. You can't swing a stick without hitting a communist or an anarchist down there. So I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with him. He's got a story that he's going to share with you all, and I would certainly appreciate it if you would go check him out on his YouTube. Just type into YouTube Leo Stratton. It's the first one to pop up there. It's LeoStratton, Leo Stratton. Please check him out. Subscribe to him. He's doing excellent stuff on the ground there. He's a citizen journalist, and he's putting himself at great risk by going out to these events to expose what the left is doing. So my hat goes off to him. Anyway, we're going to cut to a commercial break. Before we do, I just want to give you guys all the shopkeeping stuff here. Don't forget to check us out at our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link on there. We got lots of original design, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, phone cases for you. All that stuff is on there and available if you're interested. And we don't forget to also check us out and follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, and follow us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow. Oh, and also don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. We got things coming up there, new, different things happening. We're going to be very soon in the future. We're going to be doing a live video podcast of the program. And by the way, if you just joined today's show for the first time, you've never listened to the show before. First of all, I really do appreciate you tuning in. Second of all, we broadcast every Monday. Sometimes we're going to be broadcasting on Wednesday. It's I can't guarantee the Wednesday shows, as you can clearly see. We did not do one this Wednesday, and every Friday we're doing a show. So you guarantee a Monday and a Friday show. I cannot guarantee Wednesday, but I will do my best. And this is a new change for us. We do this now 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't forget to check us out. And all of the new changes on YouTube are coming. We're going to be doing the video podcast over there shortly, and it's going to be adding an extra element to it. We're not getting rid of the audio side, so it'll still be there for your listening pleasure. Anyway, so all right, now we'll cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be on the line shortly with Leo Stratton, and we're going to dive right into the meat of this news. You guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On The Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On The Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On The Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
And we're back. I appreciate y'all sticking with us at the break. So we're going to get right into it here. It seems like to me that radicalism on both sides is growing exponentially. It seems like it's a reaction to a reaction. When the left sees that the right does something, the left reacts. When the right sees that the left does something, the right reacts. And this seems to be a very disturbing trend. It seems like we're experiencing a snowball effect here. I don't know if you all feel the same way about this, but I suspect that in the future we're going to be seeing a lot more. And I'm starting to feel like this is very much like the environment of the 1960s. Last year, I believe it was, we were talking about this comparison, and we were saying how, the one thing is really missing from the comparison between now and the 60s is political assassinations, and it seems like that is coming back, and it's very unfortunate that we're starting to see political violence spilling over in protests and in these shootings. It seems like now we're experiencing more politically motivated attacks. So anyway, at this point, we're going to be joined by Leo Stratton. He's a good friend of mine. He's a citizen journalist. He runs a YouTube channel. Please look him up on YouTube. Just type in Leo Stratton, Leostratton, Leo Stratton. He's on the line. Hey, Leo, how you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing, Mac?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for joining us. So
thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. Let's get right into it, and I want to talk about, first of all, your recent experience here with the video that we were talking about off air. Can you start at the beginning and just kind of explain, what you were filming, and then subsequently what happened after that?
Okay. Recently the what they call the Antifa, which I'm sure you discussed on the program, that stands for anti-fascist, which is their opinion, obviously, because some of the ways that they act is kind of counter. They're more of the anti-fascists, but they basically, it's anti-fascist, so they're against what they deem to be white pride, white privilege, neo-Nazi, things of that nature. And I researched this in Portland specifically. This goes way back in the late 80s, I believe. There was an African American that was murdered here in Southeast, and basically the Southern Poverty Law Center came to the defense because the individuals that murdered him were out of that neo-Nazi compound in Idaho, northern Idaho, I believe, ran by Tom Metzger, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, basically, what eventually happened was they sued the compound in a civil suit and basically bankrupted the compound, the neo-Nazi one that was basically about the strongest one in America at the time. And apparently, the group here, the Antifas, is kind of based out of that. And they've always been somewhat active, but, ever since the election of Trump, they've become a lot more active and militant, excuse me. Anyway, a few weeks ago here, there was a stabbing by a crazy individual. His name was Jeremy Christian, and on a MAX train. And there were a couple of Muslim young gals on there, and he was harassing them. So two strangers, three actually, came to their defense to defend these girls being harassed by this guy. And he stabbed and killed two of the three. One was a former military veteran, and the other was a recent graduate from Reed College. And then the third individual was hospitalized with critical stabbings. Basically, this guy nearly beheaded them, slashed their throats.
Wow. And
he was seen at a previous event where there was the right, some say the alt-right, the hard right, like Patriots, Bikers for Trump, things like that, that were against the Antifas, which are, previously explained. And this individual had shown up to the event. I actually caught it on video, and you can see it on my channel, because I had caught it, and he was ranting hysterically, things like he was referring to Mortal Kombat, Captain America, and Nazi sympathizing things all at once. So I filmed him, and then everybody could be heard saying, chanting, "Don't do drugs," and the police were there, and the incident kind of was just a crazy thing. Well, just a couple of weeks later, I woke up to the news that he had stabbed and killed these two people. But since he was seen at that event and considered among us, that was considered. He's considered a righty, even though he's a Bernie supporter. And he's set to go to trial, and I don't know what will happen to him. At least life in prison. But all of that has built up, and the ACT network, ACT, was having a national gatherings all around, rallies for to go against Sharia law compliance in states. Mm-hmm. And the group that was going to do it here decided, for a lot of reasons, to go up to Seattle and combine it with Seattle's. But the Antifa, they show up at every single event that's put on as a pro-Trump, pro-Republican, pro-anything they deem by us white supremacist fascists. And they showed up anyway at the site where these individuals were killed. And they had a little gathering, and there was maybe less than a dozen of them. And then they proceeded to march up the street. Well,
do you have video?
Flag waving. I do. Yeah, I have a video. Well, I should have a video of this. What occurred was, further up the street, there was an altercation between an African American video journalist, similar to me, in what he does, and them. They had a previous altercation where they accused him of something. Anyway, it came to a head. A transgender individual was threatening him to beat him up, and he said, bring it on, basically. And he slapped him, and he put a pretty good beat down on it, and I got it all on film. And then when the police came, I showed it to them. They deemed it like a mutual fault thing, so neither one of them went to jail. And I posted the video, and it went crazy. People loved it. And it was going viral. And the next morning, I went to check the numbers, and YouTube jerked it off the channel, saying that it was inappropriate.
You broke up a little bit there. You said YouTube took it off
the channel? I'm sorry. Yeah, YouTube took it down off my channel, saying it was inappropriate. And they gave me, for people who are familiar, you get, if you have a copyright strike against you, or just a strike for inappropriate, and they have to pull something down off your site because they deem it to be offensive in any way, you get a strike. And 3 strikes within a certain period of time, and you're done. They pull your entire channel, and you can't post anything on YouTube or have a channel. So they gave me a strike and pulled the thing completely down. Meanwhile, I went back, and Milo, for example, InfoWars, all kinds of very large, popular news blogs had grabbed my video while it was still up and put it in their blogs. It was a big story, very popular. Mm-hmm. And everybody that went to read these, then, when they click on the video to watch it, it was gone. So I went in and I gave an appeal to YouTube, filed it. And they said, no dice, it's still bad. And I was like, well, I explained the situations. So also, people were stealing the video and calling it their own, which happens a lot with popular videos, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So you go in to fill out a form again with YouTube, claiming a copyright claim. So, and asks for the URL of the individual that stole your video, and then the URL of the video of yours that has been stolen. Well, I couldn't fill out the form because they pulled my video down, and I didn't get a URL. Oh. So, and then, meanwhile, the individual that was in the fight, that was a videographer, he had a GoPro camera on him. So he had that view, and they didn't pull his down. And I think it's in the wording. I was frank. I said transgendered Antifa punches videographer, immediately regrets it because this guy, just took charge and took her down.
Yeah.
But his interpretation for his video from his GoPro, which is around his chest, was woman attacks me, regrets it. Similar, but says woman instead of transgender. So
and all this,
I'm guessing
all of this took place in Portland, Oregon, right?
Yes, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for my YouTube channel, which has gone pretty crazy, because I have another video which has 650,000 views, which is a lot of a one of these patriots on the right that go to these events to kind of make sure that the protesters don't tear the place Portland Park. That's what they've been doing.
So let's talk about that for 1 second, Leo. I kind of want to I want to focus in here on the experiences that you're seeing on the ground here. I'd like to get your like an overhead view here, because you're the guy on the ground out there recording this stuff at great personal risk to yourself, I might add. My good friend and your good friend Dan Sandini of the Daylight Disinfectant, he has told me about things that has happened to him. I've personally seen things when I've been down there, and I've seen violence. I've seen people getting attacked. I've witnessed that stuff firsthand. So let me ask you, from your perspective, do you see radicalism on both sides?
I see it more so on the left, to be honest with you, because they're the ones, almost every event when there are arrests made, it's always the other side, because they're the ones that are creating, they're destroying things, burning things, assaulting people, blocking traffic, what have you. But I have found that some of the, a lot of these events have been basically called freedom of speech events, is what they're basically put out there as. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the Patriot Prayer will show up, which is a real popular one right now with Joey Gibson. And you'll get like Bikers for Trump, you'll get open carries. Basically people that are forming their groups to adhere to the standards of the Constitution as they see it, that was basically ignored over the last 8 years presidential thing.
And obviously, the guy that came out there that was stabbing people, right, on the train, is that what you said, or the tram or something?
Yeah, he stabbed and killed 2 people on the Max train.
He was on the right, right?
Well, no, what happened was he was just playing Looney Tunes, and I had heard that, he had actually, as it turns out, after he was arrested, then he is now being investigated for a stabbing that had occurred months ago downtown. But he would go and look on Facebook, he would troll Facebook, and then join in and try and create chaos with any kind of group. It was just, he enjoyed that sort of thing.
So he wasn't right and left, he was basically just like a troll then?
Well, yes, and he also, they went through his Facebook posts, and he actually was a Bernie supporter. He hated Trump, he hated Hillary, and he was a big Bernie supporter.
Okay.
And he had actually kind of...
So let me ask you, what is...
He had done a lot of activity for them.
What's your impression here of the alt-right, and have you experienced or witnessed the alt-right while you've been out filming? I know you typically target lefty events, essentially, but in watching them and the counter-protests to them, have you seen anybody who identifies as alt-right? Would you consider anyone that you've come across alt-right? And have you witnessed anything on that political spectrum, on the right side, becoming radicalized?
Well, the language is, if you watch any videos, especially from the left, is just F this, F that and anger. I've seen a little of that, less of it, but I have seen some of it from the guys on the right, because you're looking at bikers, you're looking at former military, former police, whatever. But as far and there has they will defend themselves if they deem that they've been attacked. So if somebody, like I was in an event where a lot of times they'll come and they'll try to because we get older people, we get people that would normally be afraid to go to any kind of support rally for Trump because he's hated so much. The day after the election, I was downtown, and it just went. People were trying to attack me, and I luckily I found the police, and I kind of ducked. I ducked a couple of times when they tried to take my camera and hit me. These Antifas, and they were just, you'll see more of my videos, but outwardly attacking me, and and that same.
So most of the radicalism
we had.
I just want to clarify. Most of the radicalism that you are seeing is from Antifa, from the left. You're not seeing a whole bunch of it within inside the groups that are out there for counter protest, unless
no.
It's,
well, you were here in Portland area when the Wall Street anarchists were doing their thing down there, and in a lot of ways, it's most of the same people doing this.
Yeah,
it's a lot of exact same people, and they're doing the exact same thing.
Same people out there,
same
exactly. Organizers, same people giving speeches.
Angry,
yeah,
exactly.
I know what you're dealing with. The only reason why I'm bringing up the right side on this is because I want to illustrate what has actually happened on the ground, what you're experiencing, and if you see any kind of like alt-right or neo-Nazism.
I was going to get to that next. Yeah.
Okay. So what have you seen?
I have seen a few people because it's the Berkeley was front and center for a little while, and now it's Portland, and there's still some from both so we'll get a lot of people coming to any of these events from different states, and occasionally you will see some people that I would probably call Nazi. I mean, I try to film if they have bare arm showing or something, some of their tattoos and stuff, and there's some very, you'll see white pride on some of them. I mean, you'll see some signage on them, but I haven't seen anything where they have outwardly attacked people or,
So when these people are seen at like counter protests or protests in general, what is the reaction of the other people on the right who are out there?
They disavow them. Okay. They try to disavow them. They'll quietly ask them to leave if they recognize
that they are. Is that the general consensus, or is this coming from organizers or leaders in some way, or that's just everybody?
It's mostly leaders and stuff because they're conscious of their how people see them, because already they're considered the enemy in a liberal town like this, because they're considered white supremacists or whatever else, even though their intention, because I'm friends with a lot of them, I know a lot of them, and they're tired of, they're trying to prevent things from getting torn up. Actually, the guy Tiny that punched my big video I was telling you about, that was at an event where it was called like something against the police. The whole event was to go down and protest police violence, and the right individuals on the right actually came down to watch the backs of the police, because a lot of times the police are told to stand down, and some of them get injured as well.
So, were you out at that event then?
I was, yes. Yes.
What do you think the police thought about that? How do you think the police felt about having people come down and protect them?
What happens is they secretly, because from the other side they'll get F the police, and all their chants and everything else and their signs are against the police, because that's what they're there for. And a lot on our side, they will, we will be telling them thank you and everything else. But the professional thing shows that they can't be too partial to one side or the other, because as it is, the ones that hate them are looking media-wise for anything that they can throw out there. Oh, they sided with the right, they're buddy with the right, whatever. It's it's a child's game, but it plays pretty well in the media, overtone things, because people pick it up nationally and say, yes, the Portland police are in it with they're white supremacists, because they're looking for excuses for that.
Yeah.
And so they basically remain pretty professional. But if we were to go off somewhere and want to have a beer or something, they're more likely to join with us than with the right than with the left. But again, the left see things as they also have Black Lives Matters things. So
yeah, we're going to
today that
all that
yeah.
Actually, Leo, we have to cut to a quick commercial break. Would you mind sticking with us to the break, man?
Oh, absolutely. I have to.
Okay, all right. We're going to cut to a commercial break, guys. When we come back, we're going to dive into some specific events here. And I actually want to talk, since we've been talking about the right here, I want to talk about the left. And I specifically want to focus on Antifa and Black Lives Matter, some of the rhetoric coming out of there. I want to talk about some more of the rhetoric on the left, and then dive into this shooting that took place at a Congressional baseball game practice for this charity event. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We got a lot of analysis coming up. We'll be right back after this break.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, we're back. So we're going to go ahead and play a clip here. Before we get back with Leo on the line, I want to play a clip here about Antifa, the anti-fascist organization that is somewhat fascist themselves. How they've threatened to beat Republicans. And this is right in Leo's backyard. They shut down a parade in Portland, Oregon as a result of it. Here's the clip.
Plan on every year we plan 4 months in advance.
That man and others cannot be part of the Avenue of Roses parade in Southeast Portland. Threats from protesters canceled it this year. Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Braxton. You know, those threats targeted Republicans planning to walk in the Rose Festival parade. KGW's Rachel Raffinelli is live at the start line there on 82nd Avenue. Rachel, what else are you hearing?
Well, Brenda, the city says the mayor wants to try and work something out to bring this parade back, but we're told that might not happen because many businesses here, quite frankly, are really scared about broken windows and becoming a target. But today, one car group member says no parade hurts their fundraising efforts for charity.
And that's also disappointing because we were planning on raising quite a bit of money for the charity, and so now it definitely will be impacted because there won't be as much of a volume of people.
Steve Boyles and his Mystery Machine were supposed to lead the Cinema Classic Car Club in the parade. The cancellation left his group scrambling to find a new location for their car show and charity fundraiser. They were able to find one. The parade canceled because of an anonymous email. It demands parade organizers stop Republicans from marching, or quote, we will have 200 or more people rush into the parade, into the middle, and drag and push those people out. The email also says Republicans asked people to bring signs filled with hateful rhetoric to the parade, so we asked the chairman of the Multnomah County Republican Party about that.
Wake up, get in the real world. I mean, we're a political party. Are you really so stupid that you think we're like going to attract new members by like...
I'm sorry. I just had to break it here. That is hilarious. Here he goes.
Like marching with a bunch of Nazis carrying swastikas. What are you, nuts? Get in the real world. These people are not in the real world.
All right, so the Antifa, they have managed to shut down this parade. Leo is coming back on the line. This is Leo Stratton on YouTube. Check him out, YouTube, Leo Stratton. Leo, what's the backstory on this, if you can give us a cliff notes here?
Okay, and I couldn't hear...
yeah, I figured you wouldn't be able to hear the story.
Was it with James Buechel, the MCRP chairman?
This is the... I don't know the name of that individual, but this is talking about how Antifa had threatened to send 200 or so people into the crowd to pull out Republicans.
Okay. Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, so for the first time in, I think, like 20 years or some ridiculous thing, they shut the parade down. And it kind of backfired on them, on the Antifa, because whoever sent that, I don't know if they were represented by the leadership of any of those groups, but they were like, well, we don't want to shut the parade down, but they just didn't want to shut down in their name. And so, but yeah, that became a huge story. All the national deals picked it up, but I mean, and then some of the groups that were threatening it, there was, if you went to the threads on social media, there were literally individuals threatening to kill people. I screenshot a couple because I wanted to send it to the police to, ensure that we got plenty of police there to protect from that sort of thing.
So why would people in the neighborhood or event organizers be worried about, them destroying public and private property? This happens down there a lot, I guess?
It does, yes. In the week preceding the election, there was a lot of rioting that occurred here. On one particular night, I think 2 days after the election, there was about $1 million of damage done. One individual, when they were angry and marching, went to the Broadway Toyota dealership and was jumping up and down on all the new cars and breaking windows and stuff, as well as they set a couple of cars on fire, break windows, spray paint, set dumpsters on fire, whatever. And some of them, they can't. They're also disavowing capitalism. They hate capitalism. So that's how they say, it's okay for them to break windows. And I mean, these are big banks downtown and stuff that they busted windows. They did a lot of damage.
So were you at this year's May Day protest in Portland?
I was, yes.
All right. Let me go through a quick story here real fast. This is on NBC News. May Day protest turns violent in Portland as police cancel permits. This is by Alex Johnson on NBCNews.com. May Day protest turned violent on Monday in Portland, Oregon, while police canceled protest permits, arrested numerous people, and used gas and non-lethal weapons against demonstrators, whom they described as anarchists. Other May Day gatherings around the world were relatively peaceful, but police geared up for confrontations in the Pacific Northwest's biggest cities, Portland and Seattle, where previous protests have created havoc. If you're not familiar, folks, this is like the mecca for anarchists, communists, basically anybody on the extreme radical left that is just wanting to break some stuff. You know, this is like where they go to funnel all that anger and hatred. And you know, they always say they start out peaceful. They always start out peaceful, don't they? Every riot started out peaceful, but they destroy property all the time. You can see all the photos on this article here I'm scrolling through of people sweeping up broken glass, and it's phenomenal. So what were your impressions? What were some of the things that you saw while you were out there?
I'll plug a little. I do have firsthand account of the rioting on my YouTube channel. I filmed some of that. I went down to the initial, kind of in the middle of near PSU, in the center of downtown. There was a park, and they had multiple different speakers on that day, and it centered around workers' rights, mostly immigrant workers' rights and stuff. So they had a lot of speakers regarding that. And slowly, little by little, these black bloc people were showing up, which are the ones that dress like ninjas, and they have their face, they're all in black, they cover their faces and everything else. And as the speeches, you know, went on a little bit, and then they began to do the march from there, there came a huge amount of these individuals in this black bloc, and they were decidedly a lot more belligerent. They were coming up already and yelling at police, throwing F-bombs, making threats, all kinds of stuff. And they had brought these spider things that they literally look like spiders, and they were pushing those around.
Is that what that was? I saw. I'm looking at a picture right now from the air. It looks like a spider. Okay, what's that about?
Yeah. Well, what they do, they said that it was a representation of their movement, but reading further, they hide stuff inside there, like flares and things, not retardants, but fire things. So because they eventually, they were marching, and they were supposed to go, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 miles around downtown. And once it got going a ways, they were marching with all these other groups. These groups started peeling away a little bit, and the anarchists started, or black bloc, but the anarchy-type people started throwing full pop cans at the police and other things that they could get their hands on. And then it escalated from there to where they gathered in the center of south downtown, and they were running around to like any businesses that had to be open, like a Starbucks or something that had like dining tables and whatnot outside, and they'd go and they took that and rushed and put it all in a big pile, like newspaper machines, all this stuff, and put it in a big pile and set it on fire.
So police reported that the members of this anarchist group, they began throwing rocks, lead balls, full cans of soda, glass bottles, and incendiary devices late in the afternoon. That was around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, because they spoke from like 1 to maybe 2, and then they started marching, and by the time they got around about 3, and you see this also coincides with, that's when the rush hour really gets busy downtown. So they always coincide it. They plan it so that they can block traffic and create the most chaos possible. So you can count on, when people are starting to get ready to go home and jam the freeways or just need to get around downtown, that's when they start doing all these things. Because you can go and look up on all these groups, and they literally have, like, they say what they're going to do. They say to block things. I found out about the spiders because they literally had an article about building these and then putting, hiding stuff inside of them. And you could hear, actually, in my video, you'll hear there's somebody like barking out directions, like a military thing.
What's that video
these individuals.
What's the name of that video for that?
I think it's Mayday Riot, like turns into riot.
And that's on
in
your
downtown
channel,
Portland
right?
or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's pivot here for a second here. I want to talk a moment about the GOP men's baseball team shooting that happened. Let me read an article here. This is NewYorkTimes.com, written by Matt Flegenheimer. This is dated 14 June. Here's what we know, according to them here. 5 people, including Representative Steve Scalise, Republican of Louisiana, and a member of the House leadership, were shot Wednesday morning in an attack at a baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia. Police said the gunman was shot and wounded and taken into custody. President Trump said the assailant, identified by authorities as James T. Hodgkinson of Bellevue, Illinois, died from the wounds. Mr. Scalise was in critical condition and was undergoing surgery. His office said that he was in good spirits before going into surgery at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, and that he spoke to his wife by phone. He's grateful for the brave actions of the U.S. Capitol Police, first responders, and colleagues, his office said. He was at the baseball practice with other lawmakers and staff members preparing for a charity game when the attack occurred. Representative Mo Brooks, Republican of Alabama, said 2 law enforcement officers and a congressional aide were among the injured. Mr. Brooks told CNN that players took cover wherever they could on the field and that members of the security team exchanged fire with the gunman who had a rifle. Police said a call came in at 7:09 a.m. and the officers responded in 3 minutes. 2 officers engaged the attacker and returned fire, the authorities said. The office of Representative Roger Williams, Republican of Texas, said that a member of his staff had been shot and he was receiving medical attention. His office said that the congressman had not been shot, as some had reported. Senator Rand Paul was there. He's a Republican of Kentucky. That's my state now. He said that quick action by Capitol Police saved lives. The field was basically a killing field, he said. What we don't know, the motive of the gunman is still under investigation. Police have not said whether the gunman knew any of the victims. The condition of the other wounded were not immediately available, and the police did not disclose how the gunman knew the lawmakers' practice schedule. So let's talk about this for a moment. First of all, this shooter has been identified as a Bernie Sanders supporter, at least alleged, because we're not completely positive if the profile that we found online is the same guy. So, but the shooter who has been identified as James T. Hodgkinson of Bellevue, Illinois, he has a profile, we think, where he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. We know that he allegedly, at least this James T. Hodgkinson, went out and did door-to-door canvassing for Bernie Sanders.
Right.
And we have a general idea that, based on his posts on Facebook, that he's anti-Trump, very, very anti-Trump. And this could be some kind of politically motivated attack. It seems like it's leading that way. So my question to you, Leo, is what do you think about this shooting? Do you think it's politically motivated? Are we going to find out that it's not down the line, or what are your thoughts on this?
No, I absolutely think it was, because number one, they were interviewing an individual that wasn't a congressman or anything, but that was in the area. Was what happened, and he described the pops, which you and I both know that means it was an AR. And so this guy, obviously, if he went and got an AR to do this, he had every intention of just slaying. And I had also heard that he had came and inquired. He said, is this the Republicans or the Democrats that are practicing? And somebody said, this is the Republicans. So he specifically went in there with the intention of taking out as many as he could. And I also heard, again, these hearings, but I mean, this is on national news, on the radio. I heard that he was very, very angry about politics and what was going on in the country, and that it was specifically about politics. So and he specifically had a hatred for the Republican Party.
This guy, he apparently, and again, this is all alleged. I don't know if this is accurate or not. I've heard rumor that he had an M4. I think it might have been reported from somebody who maybe didn't necessarily know a whole lot about guns. It could have been an AR-15. It could have been a completely different weapon, but we know for a fact that it was a rifle, and the police who responded were responding with handguns. So they're exchanging fire with a man who had a rifle. There was 50 to 60 shots fired or so, and one of the big things that was a saving grace here is that Representative Steve Scalise, he's the House Majority Whip. He had a security detail with him. None of these other congressmen apparently had any security with them, and apparently none of them were even armed. And as we know, there may be some issues with gun laws as far as Alexandria, Virginia. I'm willing.
I was going to say the D.C. area, you can't have. It has no rights whatsoever.
Yeah. So
I would imagine even the law enforcement is probably limited. In the Bay Area, for example, the cops there cannot take their guns home. They have to leave them at the station, and they're limited to just like the 9mm that are issued to them, nothing else. And that's putting a target on their back. If criminals know that they're leaving duty away from the station without and not allowed to have their service duty weapons with them, they're open. Anybody that wants to get back at the police for anything, right there, they know they don't have their guns, so they're not allowed to.
So let me ask you, who do you think is to blame for this event?
The D.C. thing?
Yeah,
the baseball thing.
Yeah, who do you think's to blame for this? Is it? Would you say it's the Democrats? Would you say it's Antifa? Is it Republicans? Is it Trump? Who's to blame?
It's a combination, but I put the biggest blame on the media itself, because it seems to be. I am a Republican. I am conservative, but I don't recall attacks on President Obama when he was in office being given as much legitimacy and them saying, well, it's warranted, it's understandable. And I think it's gotten out of hand. I mean, you look at how many mainstream people that go out and, well-known celebrities or whatever else that go out and parade around with fake severed heads and have plays about killing. I mean, I think that is really fueled because it enables people. And that's part of the problem here. You talked about the Pacific Northwest and all the problems here with the Antifa and the violence and everything else. It's because they're enabled by the local governments that will not take a stand. And then by the time they do take a stand, once they finally figured out that asking, giving people rights to go out and protest and saying, please don't destroy things, please don't burn things, doesn't work, and they actually start policing, then it's too late, because then the other side screams, police brutality, everything else, and it's out of control. It's the same way as dealing with children or an unruly puppy dog or something. And I think that's a big part of the problem.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree that I think it's a contributing factor, but I just want to point out that, in my opinion, and I don't know how it could be argued against in this, the gunman is to blame. The gunman is the one who woke up and decided to go out and shoot people. The gunman, being I have conservative leanings, I believe in personal responsibility, and I believe in people are responsible for their own actions.
You mean the gun didn't get a mind of its own and just jump into this guy's hands and mow everybody down?
Nope.
That's what a lot of people, whatever you believe.
This guy made the decision to do this, but Leo, I really do appreciate you joining us today. We got to cut off here. We're about ready to wrap up. We're going to have some final thoughts. Okay. I really appreciate you joining us today. Where can people go to get more from you? I know you're YouTube, but do you have any social media or website presence, anything like that?
I just wrote an article about what YouTube did in censoring my video and pulling it down for the Red Elephant. And that's a blogging group on Facebook and other plays. Conservative leaning, but I just wrote my first article on there, so you can see that on there. And I haven't been real active on Twitter, but I at Pulp Portland. If you ever want to see if you can see what people are talking about. Yeah, Pulp Portland. P-U-L-P, like Pulp Fiction, but Pulp Portland.
All right, that's a good name. Everybody, please check them out.
Where I come from.
Everybody check him out, youtube.com. Type in Leo Stratton. Please subscribe to him. He's doing great things. And again, kudos to you for putting yourself at risk out there to bring us what the left is doing. And I certainly appreciate your work. Keep it up.
Well, thank you.
Thanks
so
much, Leo.
I appreciate your show. It's invigorating and refreshing to be able to know that there's still people out there that love the Constitution and their country and are willing to stick up for it and go on air and do it. That's great.
Thanks, Leo. I really appreciate it. Will you be willing to come back again in the future, man?
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, man. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. You take it easy, bud.
Hey, you too.
All right. Okay, folks. So let's wrap this up here. I want to put a pin in this here. Let's talk about gun control here, because this is a conversation after every single shooting. This is an article on the New York Times. Their own targeted Republicans want looser gun laws, not stricter ones. This is written by Jonathan Martin, dated June 14th. This is shaken and angry Republican members of Congress seized on the brazen daytime shooting of their colleagues on Wednesday to demand that existing restrictions on gun access be loosened so that people facing similar attacks are able to defend themselves. Past shootings have brought calls for more gun control, especially for restrictions on the kind of rifle used in Wednesday's attack. But the ardent supporters of gun rights who came under fire this time were not about to change their views. As Representative Steve Scalise, the third-ranking House Republican, had surgery for a gunshot wound to the hip, his colleagues complained that Washington's restrictive gun laws had barred him and other lawmakers who lived in the Capitol from bringing weapons to the baseball practice in Alexandria, Virginia. There you go. Had there not been a member of the House leadership present, there would have been no police present, and it would have become the largest act of political terrorism in years, if not ever, Republican Tom Garrett of Virginia said, pointing to a legislation he had introduced to make it easier for people to carry a gun in Washington. That bill would allow the most law-abiding among us to defend themselves, he said. Republicans who had gathered for the morning workout on Thursday night's annual Congressional baseball game were blunt about their sense of vulnerability. The field was a killing field, as I said earlier. Senator Rand Paul said that of Kentucky, who was there when the shooting happened. You had no way to defend yourself. The emboldened response of the right illustrated how much the center of gravity has shifted in the gun debate. As Republican lawmakers grow more uniformly conservative and centered outside urban areas, few prominent voices in the party are willing to support gun control measures. This is a striking departure from the recent political history, blah, 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 blah. All right, we're not going to go any further into this article. You can read the rest of it if you'd like to. Again, that's New York Times. The article is titled, Their Own Target Republicans Want Looser Gun Laws, Not Stricter Ones. Okay, so with that in mind, again, I've already said I believe that the shooter is ultimately responsible. He bears the brunt of the responsibility. If, in fact, he was politically motivated, I happen to agree with Leo in that this media atmosphere, this atmosphere that has given legitimacy to the anti-Trump resistance movement. This is a legitimate movement happening now, an anti-Trump resistance movement. Look, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump. I think he's done good things. I think he's done bad things. But I'm not carrying water for the guy, but I certainly don't think that this kind of movement should be getting legitimized from the mainstream media. But of course, it's the attack machine. It's the anti-right attack machine. It's going to continually try to go after the right. It's very biased. It portrays that it's not, but it is, and it's created this atmosphere. And I think it's largely responsible in many ways for creating more and more radicalism. Now, again, each individual is responsible for their own actions, and we should hold them responsible accordingly. But you know, this guy, he turns out to be a Bernie Sanders supporter. He turns out to have campaigned for him. He's got a history of violence, apparently, and it's very sad that we are headed down this path. And what I will tell you, and what I hope, I'm begging you, please do not radicalize yourself. We have to figure out how we can come together. Instead of throwing stones at each other, we need to figure out how we can work this out. This isn't something like in the past where the media tried to portray the Tea Party as a resistance movement, as this politically radical group. This was a group of people that just wanted to be left alone and wanted the government out of their lives. Now we're talking about active acts of radicalism, where people are now taking part in violence, and now assassinations are happening. It's very reminiscent of the 1960s. And first and foremost, let's actually cut to the last topic here. We're not going to have a whole lot of time because we're already at 9 o'clock here. But I just want to say that the gun control does not make us safer. Gun control makes us less safe. The people on the field that were being shot at, just like the people in the Pulse nightclub shooting, just like the people in Paris, just like the people in London, just like the people at every place that has been a gun-free zone that has seen this kind of acts of terror, essentially. I mean, and that's what they are. These acts of insanity. The people in these situations are feeling defenseless because they've had guns taken out of their hands almost literally. They are not allowed to carry to defend themselves or others around them. And this does not make us safer, because criminals do not follow the law by mere definition of the word criminal. So, again, we need less gun control, not more gun control. We need to have the right to bear arms completely respected, and everyone ought to be carrying, because we would be safer. Even if there's a group of people who are violent and are wanting to hurt other people, the mere fact that everyone else is armed would be a deterrent to violence. But that's our show for today, folks. I really do appreciate you tuning in. MacPack, you're the tip of the spear. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week. I really appreciate your continued support. Don't forget to check us out on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link. Purchase our products if you want them. We got T-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, coffee mugs, all that good stuff. Follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. And subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, sometimes on Wednesdays, and every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at our hub, OnTheMoveShow.com, or Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can also check out the podcast on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. It's auto-streamed over there after the fact. And we also post it on Podbean and iTunes, so please check it out. Anyway, I really appreciate you all tuning in. Thanks so much. And don't forget, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.